Hi there, I'm Rafiat, and this is the next episode of Walk With Me. And today, I was just on my way out for a walk, and my thoughts sort of went to a period in time when um, I had to make a decision, or I felt I was in a situation I needed to make a decision. And the background to this was we had been in the country. I'd done my postgraduate training, come almost to the end of my specialty training, bearing in mind that I came into the UK with a original plan was to get my specialty training in obstetrics and gynecology and then go back home to set up a clinic in a remote area, a place where people will probably not have easy access to quality medical care. Now, the period I've been in the UK, because of immigration laws, our passports being Nigerians, were in the Home Office for more months in the year than they were at home with us, because most of the training posts were usually 6 months posts or maximum 18 months. And even when I had a rotational post that was for 3 years, the Home Office would only grant us maximum 18 months visa. And the situation I was in was I had completed my training. My husband was being challenged passing some of his membership exams. And at this point in time, we had 2 children. And life was getting challenging. And I wasn't sure whether to stay on. Should we stay here? Should we go back home? So I went to one of my consultants who is a Christian, was a Christian, in the hope that he will give me not just a big brother view, being a consultant, but also the godly view. And when I explained things to him and said we were coming to the end of how I could extend my permit-free training, the advice he gave me, presumably with all the best intentions, was, well, you finish your training, go back home, take your children, let him finish his, he'll come and meet you at home. And on the surface, that initially sounded, okay, plausible, but then my heart broke immediately and I thought, I couldn't leave my husband. And it would break his heart not to have us together. It would break his heart not to see his children. And upon the stress he was having with his exams, that was the last thing I wanted to inflict on him. And I remember saying to God, this doesn't feel like good advice. What do you want me to do? Now, God could have given me an answer, and I would probably have listened. But he chose to direct me to somebody else in a different conversation. And this was another consultant who I truly respected. To my knowledge, I don't think he was a Christian, but he had some pretty great moral values that were in alignment with mine. And I remember chatting to him saying, look, I'm being challenged now. I finished my training. If I don't get a substantive post, either as a consultant or a staff grade, then I may have to go back home. But I don't want to do that because my husband's not finished. And he said to me, well, what do you think you could do? I said, well, I don't know. And I said, I did ask your colleague this, and this was the advice he gave me. And this sweet gentleman, his face went pale, and he went, he told you what? I said, he told me to go home with my children and go and establish myself and leave my husband. And he said to me, but you can't do that. And I said, I know. And he said, there will be another way. And in that moment, I realized that not everybody who calls himself a Christian has God's heart or fully understands what that means. And on reflection over the years, it sort of comes to me that, and that's probably what I want to share today. When you're in a position or a place of authority or a place where someone's trusting you with what's important to them, be honorable in that. Be careful of the advice you give, because some will just follow you based on what they think you are. And if you are the person who is looking for advice, my advice to you is go to God first. Sit in that quiet place and ask him your questions. He loves for us to visit him. He loves for us to come and ask him questions. And he loves to guide us. And in that place, when you're sure that you're asking him, you're in that place with him, ask him. And usually, the first answer that comes, generally a quiet voice, is his. And then your own doubts be kicking. And then you think, well, but I can't do that. Is that possible? And then, of course, the enemy kicks in and reinforces your doubts. Of course you can't do that. That's ridiculous. That can't be God. He wouldn't want you to suffer. He wouldn't want you to suffer. That is true. The enemy always twists God's truth and turns it into a lie. Yes, God will not want you to suffer, but also he will not want you to break your covenant or be separated from your husband or your partner or whatever that person is. And the third that I would like to maybe put across is this. As I was reflecting on this first consultant who was the Christian this morning, I remember that he shared before on one of our training programs how he loves to plait his daughter's hair. And I was actually doing a skills training on doing that. And I thought to myself, how would he have felt if they had a situation and his wife left with his daughter and left him alone? Would that be what he would have wanted? I'm pretty much sure he wouldn't. So why would he advise somebody else to do that? Please, to the leaders out there, lead in love. Lead in love. Lead in truth. Be guided by truth. Be guided by what's right, and not just give a flippant response to what it could be a very life-changing question for those who are under your care. There's so many things in life that we're not sure of, but one thing I am sure of: God is there, God is love, and he has the best in mind for you. And even in those challenging places, even where you think there couldn't be a way out, there is always a way out. So what was the end of this story for me? Well, God gave me his own way to deal with that issue. And that involved me stepping out in faith to go and ask somebody to do something they'd never done before. And if you want to know what that is, then let's meet up here, same time next week. Have a blessed week. Bye for now.